The last thing on the mainland before you cross the bridge is a toilet block. A dirty, smelly toilet block. Had we known what lay ahead of us, we would have recognised the toilet block as a warning, an omen, a sign of things to come. We zipped our zippers and went to inspect the view as Avalon watched on in fear. There was little interesting to see here. A dull grey sky reflected off the murky blue water. A boat sat quietly, neglected and lifeless as the mollusks slowly ate away at its core. This wasn't the paradise we were led to believe exists here. This was not worthy of a dog's breakfast. This is Bribie Island. Like most islands in Australia, Bribie has become the poster child for the litany of lifestyle locations for the over 50s scattered throughout the world, an irresistible magnet where the elderly and infirm can live out their twilight years peacefully. Here, you're constantly reminded of the cold, hard fact that one day, no matter who you are, your hair will turn grey, your knees will fuse together, and your teeth will fall out. To speed up this process, we headed to the local Macca's. We had heard tales of burgers cooked in 5 minutes or under, of golden chips and wicked nuggies, and the prospect of our own little taste of heaven had completely enthralled us. But like Icarus, we flew too close to the sun. My rampant lust for fatty food had led me to lock the keys in the ute, and our efforts to rescue them ended in disaster. We had lost not only the battle and the war, but also our dignity, our passenger side window, our hopes and our dreams. Embarrassed and despondent, we retreated to a nearby park to lick our wounds. Our misfortune led us to what is ostensibly the least impressive reserve in the entire country, Buckley's Hole. We assumed it's named for the fact that it's a hole and you've Buckley's chance of finding anything of interest in it. Unsurprisingly, it is located at the island's very bottom. If you are looking for a dirty pit of misery and despair, this is exactly where you'd expect to find it. The feeling of sand betwixt our socks was a welcome reprieve from the relentless monotony of this glorified funeral home of an island. While we had been preoccupied with broken windows and smelly holes, Avalon was itching to dig a hole of her very own, far away from the harbour of problems we had found ourselves moored in. A mere 4 hours into our expedition, and we were already exhausted. Where's Avalon?
I have no fucking clue. Avalon! I think she's in here.
We knew where the dogs got sucked in. We needed to find where the dogs got spat out. Avalon may have been lost, but we were determined to get her back from her sandy captors. We set off in search of the source. As we meandered north along a most sordid track, we spotted a sign for Poverty Creek. There was no hint of irony here. It was just as bad as it sounded. On arrival, we were greeted by the most abhorrent clearing on the face of the planet. Puddles of muddy water festered under the trees as a gang of ibises attacked some tents nearby. The smell of the local poo receptacle emanated a foul stench which wafted expansively and most disgustingly over the campsite. It was very clear that this was not what we were looking for. Avalon wouldn't be seen dead in this place. Horrified and feeling ill, we pressed on. Pine plantations lined the road to the beach, like soldiers marching in unison for their emperor. We followed their march with the hope of finding a sliver of information about my lost dog. Perhaps their destination held the key to this mystery. Unfortunately, the World War II fort was just about as useless as Anne Frank's drum kit. It seemed to us that the only purpose these decaying concrete monoliths serve is to provide a convenient place for vandals to make spelling mistakes. These monuments to human cruelty were exactly where we'd expect to find Avalon, yet her annoying whining still eluded us. It had become almost like clockwork. Once again we arrived at one of the island's attractions, and once again we found it utterly unpalatable. Lagoon number 3 yielded little new information and only served to further depress our spirits. Despite its suspiciously coloured water, we could not find any traces of the pump and my misplaced canine. The search seemed hopeless. No matter how loud we yelled, she just wouldn't come. The investigation ground to a halt as we pulled up stumps for the night. The campsite provided a modicum of reprieve from the seemingly endless misery of this terribly unpleasant island. We were joined by a couple of blokes who, coincidentally, were also searching for their own lost dog. We all decided to do a bit of fishing to take our minds off our losses. Matthew gained a new nickname that day. It didn't take long for 3-metre Flatty Matty to hook a big one. We stood back and watched in wonderment as he reeled in the biggest fish he's ever caught. As the evening wore on, kangaroos could be seen foraging unsuccessfully on the beach, watching enviously as one of our new companions taunted them with his catch of the day. As the sun receded further and further behind the horizon, the hazy lights of Caloundra flickered quietly in the distance as if they were a candlelight vigil for all the dogs that have been lost on Bribie. We wished our fellow searchers luck on their quest to find their own lost canines and discussed our options over the fire. The next morning, we decided that the best plan was to cut our losses and head home. Bribie had beaten us to buggery. We had become sickly dogs cowering under its mighty fist, assaulted into submission, scared and hungry, unable to take it anymore. Morale was at an all-time low. On our way out, we decided to stop in at the beach one last time. Maybe there was something there that we were missing, somewhere we hadn't checked, something hidden in plain sight. And so once again, the three of us were reunited. Despite the fact that she neglected to tell either of us that she was going on one of her biannual deep-sea spearfishing trips this weekend, I was still quite happy to see her. A wet dog is always better than a dead dog. As we left, I wondered if all the misfortune that had befallen us in this terrible festering pile of sandy nonsense was due to the ghosts of all the old people jealously guarding their nasty, fucked up little island. If that were true though, I don't even know why they would bother. This island has been so completely raped of its natural beauty that it is simply a husk of its former self, completely undeserving of its association with the east coast of Australia. It's our country's dirty little secret, but not dirty in a good way. Dirty in a dirty way. Dirty in a wheezy, immunocompromised kind of way. This island will make your mother cry and your girlfriend break up with you. Don't do that to yourself. Don't go to Bribie Island.